How's it going, everyone?
Good,
I'm
good,
going to say
good.
good morning because it's morning for some of us. It's afternoon for others. But welcome to this very special interview that we have this morning with Kelvin Akpaloo. So for me, I've known Kelvin. I know Kelvin more than the others. So I'm going to do a little intro. And as people know, we are trying to build something here in Bray within Be Well, and it's No Hate, Be Well. And we've been doing stuff over a number of weeks now. And I know on day one that we launched, Kelvin spotted us on Instagram and he was our first follower, which was a sign, I think, maybe a sign.
Yeah.
But I know that, so for me, Kelvin is an artist, he's an activist, he's an advocate, he's a compassionate man, he's a courageous man, and he's a lot of stories to share. And in particular, he was around back when the no hate speech movement began in Ireland. So we thought, as we tried to take the torch and carry on that work, we felt it would be really interesting to have Kelvin come in. He's been on a journey since then. I can testify to that, but I don't know as much, obviously, as he would about that journey. But I think there's something worth sharing. So we've prepared questions, and we're going to just land them on Kelvin and hopefully have a conversation. And we are certainly going to learn from it, and we hope that everyone else gets to learn from it too. So Tola has the first question.
Yeah. So Kelvin, would you be able to tell us about your first contact with the no hate speech? So why did you get involved? How did you get involved? And what did you do within it?
Oh, okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Kelvin Akpaloo. So for your question, also, Dermot, thank you for the introduction. I feel so special. For the question, the no hate speech movement, the first time I heard about it or I knew about it was in 2016. I remember, I think June the 1st. I remember this very well. 2016. And when I first heard about it was through an email. I got an email from one of my mentors through art. And they said to me, Kelvin, the National Youth Council of Ireland is looking for a young person that is a dancer to represent Ireland and the no hate speech, to be a no hate speech movement ambassador to represent Ireland either in Greece or in Serbia. And for me, as I said, I had no clue, but I was so excited because the two main words I really loved in that email was represent Ireland and an ambassador. It's like, oh my God. And after I did my research and I applied, the research, basically what it represents, really represents me also. And tackling hate speech, and it was something I was working towards it before I met it, but I didn't know the platform. I didn't know where I can elevate myself. Now I was only doing in the community, so how can I get my voice out there even more? So when it presented itself for me, it was an opportunity that I really wanted to take. And when I had my interview with Eister, and Eister, who was the assistant coordinator for No Hate Speech Movement in Ireland, and she explained even well for me, and I fell in love with it. My first time, also, I remember these days very well because it was my first time after getting my Irish citizenship in 2014, leaving the country. So I was leaving the country not for holidays, but for something that I'm really passionate about and to make a change and something different that I've never seen. So when I got to the country I got to go was Serbia, and it was super interesting because one, I was the only Black person in the country, like in the area and in the project, and it was super interesting to see that the people were. It was very fascinating for the people to see me because they were taking photos, and I enjoyed it. Like they want to call me and say, "Oh, come on, my friend, come on, my friend," and I felt like a celebrity because it's something I've never experienced. And also seeing young people really using art to actually tackle a social issue, both online and offline, was something that was super, super incredible because it's the movement was not like you have youth workers or organizations saying do this, do that. It's basically for the young people to use what their artistic or their talent to actually use it to tackle the issues that they are really into and wants to make a change. And that was something that for me I really love, because it gives you that freedom to be free to express yourself rather than being feeling restricted in doing certain things that you might not be able to do. So this is how I got into it, and this is how what I did when I was in it in the beginning. But now I've done a lot more, but in the beginning, and how I'm kind of like still passionate about it.
And when you came back to Ireland, then what happened after that? Was there more to do?
Oh, when I came back to Ireland, I was super inspired. I was super inspired because that kind of like triggered something inside me that, okay, now I want to be part of more in the community, and really, really focus, because 2000, to be honest, I am a spoken word artist, and the first spoken word piece that I wrote was about no hate speech movement. And because I never knew, because when I went there, I counted myself as a rapper at the time. Yo, everybody wanted to be a rapper. But when I came back and I met the young people there, that also, because we had young people that was using rapping to tackle the issue, writing no hate speech movement song, and I bond with them, and I came back, it gave me a new perspective on how I see rap music and how I don't want to be involved in rap music again, but rather spoken word, because the ideology now in rap music that I knew now is different from what I knew before, because the people that I like, Biggie, Tupac was using it as a form of to tackle issue, but now it's all about talking about money and girls and everything. So I didn't want to be part of it, and it transformed me into discovering spoken word piece. And then that was when I started writing, and my journey of spoken word started kind of like coming from. And so when I came to Ireland, I was super inspired to do new things, to really get my voice to be heard, because now I found the platform or the people that will push me to get to where I want to go.
That's deadly, and it kind of helps me with the question that I was going to ask next, and it kind of flows nicely, because I've seen you perform over the years, and I've seen videos, I've seen you live, and yeah, for me, some very kind of powerful and personal stories in there, Kelvin, from your performances. And I know that you're a choreographer as well, so it's not just about Kelvin and his performances. You work with other young people, you bring them through a process, and it really stands out to me that every time I've seen you perform, there's been an underlying story, sometimes your story, or sometimes stories that you have acquired over time, or experiences that you've had. So how important is it? So if we're transmitting messages about no hate, how important is it that they're done through stories in creative ways for you?
It's an amazing question, and I really like stories. For me, as a child in Africa, I've always been involved in listening to stories or wanting to tell stories. Like my grandmother started with me. So for me, with using stories to talk about an issue is something that is super, super important. And it gives a character to what you're trying to say. And it makes it personal. You know, and I feel like in the world, people relate more to things that is a bit more personal. You know, so for example, I've done a lot of performances, and all of them comes with different experience or impact that it had. But if I can take two out of those performances that I've done, or events that I've been part of, one is in 2017, November 23rd. I remember this day very well, because it was the Young Voice, no, it was Youth Summit in Aviva Stadium. And it was about migration. And I remember I created a dance piece with a group of young people, and we had to perform. But at the same time, part of the performance, each young people, we had to write a spoken word. And the spoken word piece was related to a country that we are supposed to, we feel about to talk about, to help the issue of migration. And the country that I chose was Syria. And the reason why I chose Syria was because I've already I've met Syrians, and my ex-girlfriend was a Syrian, and at the same time, I really wanted to showcase the beauty of Syria rather than how we see it now, and how it was so impactful. And the way the story came about was when I finished performing. Like I was talking about Syria and everything, and when I finished performing, the aim of me was to educate people to really accept people and not to accept migrants and not to discriminate or say go back to your country or anything, and put ourselves in their shoes. But the most incredible thing that happened was after the performance, going on the elevator in the River Stadium, and I see behind me there were Syrians there, and the Syrians there that were there was in two generations. You have like the mothers, the grandmothers, and all of them, and then their children. And the ones behind me was their grandparents, and then the mothers, and they stopped me, and then they said to me, "We want to say thank you to what you said about our country, and you made our country precious. You made." And then I couldn't say nothing. All I could say was thank you for accepting my words. And after the event too, you see their children also come to me and asking me, thank you so much for what you said about our country. We've never heard like this before, and it really moved me. I wrote the spoken word in the form of a story because I went to Lebanon, so I was around young people, and I was around Syrians. I was in the refugee camps working with young people that are in the refugee. So I really listened to their stories and also put myself in their shoes and see how relatable my story and their story is. And then through that, I was able to put down a piece that people can relate to, not just people that are in Ireland, but the people that they are also are from that country to relate to. And that was one of the most amazing ways for me, how a piece of work can really connect. And the second one, very quickly, was when in 2016 itself, just before I went to Serbia, and what happened was I was working on a piece about racism with young people in Adamstown, and the topic, the racism, it was every single young person telling their experience, how they have experienced racism in Ireland, and they were sharing it so deep. And then when we put all of them together as a performance piece, we were going to perform it in the festival. And this piece in the theater, majority is Irish and white Irish, and is mostly from the 30s, 40s going up that comes to the theater. And the children were scared. They were very terrified because the question was, is Ireland racist? Like, hey, Ireland is racist. And they were scared. They were like, Kelvin, we don't know what we're going to happen. We don't know if we want to perform. Even when they were going to mention their names, I was like, you know what? Let's go. We can do it. You guys, I trust you. Whatever happens, we are here. We will make sure nothing bad happens to you. And when they went to perform, the reaction they were expecting was totally different because the people stood up, clapped, meeting the young people and asking them that, wow, thank you, you inspired us, you did. It was a place of where I realized that stories are super important. By listening to the people, listening to each individual, and also your story too, sharing your stories among them and putting them as a piece, you and creating a character for it, you have the chance to impact the people really, really more. So the importance of storytelling is super important. That is why when we are children, when our grandparents are telling us stories, we are so focused and listening, and the stories that they tell us stay with us for a very long time. And that is the kind of like way that I use to also to do my work.
And so it sounds like, Kelvin, before I pass on to Grace, that it's as important to be real in your storytelling than to think about the impact or the reaction. So it sounds like you get, sometimes there's unexpected reactions, or you want to have a certain impact, but it's important to be real in your storytelling. And even if the impact might not be, you hope for a positive impact. Sometimes it's amazing. But is that fair to say that the truth telling is as important as what you hope the impact will be?
Yes. Because in everything that you do, you expect that, oh, I want to have this impact. But that impact that you are is a hope. So it could happen or it could not happen. So you have to make sure that before you have to make sure that you have something strong in front of you and not focus too much on the impact. So there's something strong is in front of you is really telling the story, being real, because that is the only way you're going to have an impact. So if you're being real with them, because people want to relate. People like to relate. So, oh, I related to that story. Oh my God, that really touched my heart. That's because you are real. But if you're not real, you might get the impact maybe you want, but you might not really get people to connect. You want connection more than impact. Like, you won't be able to connect with what you're saying, and then from that connection, the impact will grow or will come out of it. So this is like totally right. Being real is the most important thing.
Cool.
I have it. Hi, Kelvin.
Hello, Grace.
I'm so lucky because I guess I've had the privilege of being there for some of your performances at the Youth Summit and others, and like I can absolutely attest to the fact that it goes straight to the heart. And it's kind of one of those things that when you're on the bus home, you're like thinking back over the performances, going, oh, wow. Like, so it's not just in the moment that the connection happens, but I think it's afterwards as well, the kind of energy.
Yeah.
So I so appreciate that. And
thank you.
Besides the humanity of the story sharing and the connection and the feelings and the positivity, there's also learning in the stories that you share and in your pieces. And that's something that I was thinking when we were going to have a chat with you, like what do I need to know from you? That maybe I need to then teach others. And one of the places to start is in terms of hate speech. Do you think it's important to be clear on what that is? And if so, like, what is it? So I think there's some confusion over what is it? We're talking about hate speech and trying to combat it, but do we even know what it is? And do you think that's important?
Yeah. Thank you. I like this question, and because this question is something that in my journey of No Hate Speech movement, now it's called No Hate Speech Network. It has come up a lot because every country seems to have a whole different definition for it. But in general, and according to the European Commission or European Council and the United Nations kind of like way of, if you look at both of them, what they're trying to say. For me, before I answer like the definition, I'll just say it's super important to actually have the definition for it and to differentiate. One of the problems in my journeys we have come to encounter and still encountering is people seems to don't know the difference between hate speech and freedom of speech. That is where the battle comes from, because people always say that, okay, I have my right to say whatever I want to say. It's in the United Declaration of Human Rights. Article 19 says I can say everything I want without any censorship. But they don't know what hate speech is. So for me, what hate speech is basically any words, any words, speech, or behavior that kind of like discriminate against a person for who they are, either their religion, their ethnicity, their gender, any form of way, but targeting a person or a group. And then hate speech is, and that's what hate speech is. So targeting a group or person based on their ethnicity or where they come from and everything. And then if you also look at freedom of speech is having the right to express yourself, without any censorship from the government or nothing. So these two is super close, but at the same time, it's not the same. I use hate speech in a form of action. I describe hate speech as, for example, this is your face, and this is my face. So this is a person, and this face is my freedom of speech. So I can say whatever I want, whatever I want, whatever I want. But when my words is now touching just the tip of the nose of somebody, that becomes a hate speech. So that because now your words is affecting or is targeted to somebody, and that is why I see hate speech. So I describe it more in that kind of like way, like when your words is touching somebody and it's affecting somebody or a group, that is a hate speech. And this is how I kind of like explain it. And I think that people find it difficult to actually explain it really well because of the freedom of speech and hate speech.
I feel like we're going to use that now.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kelvin.
So Kelvin, what was it difficult, or how do you find it kind of balancing like study, work, family, your hobbies and stuff like that? Like, do you feel pressure to be, practicing activism 100% all the time, or what's your thoughts on that?
Okay, I like this one too because it's something that I experienced it from beginning, from even the moment till now. I'm still experiencing it a little bit. It's really difficult. It's difficult when, especially also when you don't have a family backup. And for example, most of the African, for example, in the African family or most families are very traditional, like go to work, go to university, find a job, and straight away you're making money. So you don't see, sometimes you don't see a point of why do you do something that you're not making money? So when you tell them, oh, today I'm going to talk in this event. Oh, really? Are they going to pay you? No. Then why are you going to do it? You just finished uni. You need money. You need money. You need money. So in that sense, it is really difficult to do something that you're very passionate about, but then your family doesn't see it as important. That is where is another problem, and but to balance it with everything else also, I think it's all down to you yourself. And for me, what about no hate speech? What I really did was I like it, and I try to make sure that my hobbies are in it. So if you put your hobbies inside your activism, it's so easy. It becomes a bit easy for you because then you're doing something that you love already. So you love doing. So for me, when I got into the no hate speech movement, the first thing I really wanted to, what I saw or when I was in was, it was more about young people being in the event, maybe do a small video and then they post it. And I wanted to bring a very different creative element into it. So I started introducing flash mob, dance, spoken word. And these are things that I enjoy already. So when I'm doing it, it always motivates me to go, I want to go again. Next time I'm going, I'm doing what I love. And that is why it keeps me motivated. And also to balance it with school and everything, it also, again, it depends on how you transform it into it. For example, me, I designed I am graphic designer and a web design. And in the uni, I was studying media production management. So one thing I also tried to do was bring my studies or the stuff that I'm doing in uni, to bring it into the no hate speech movement. So I decided, for example, when the group, we are going to do an event, I go straight away, okay, I will design the poster for it. Oh, I will design this for it. So I'm still doing something that I love and also practicing my skills for uni, but at the same time doing activism. So it's super important to really connect your hobbies and a bit of your studies to go into the activism, because sometimes if you don't do that, you get to a point and it becomes a bit tiring for you. You know, you stop being creative and you stop, oh, what else can I do? But when you involve all the things that you love into your activism, it becomes super, super easy. And but one thing on your question that you asked was, do you have to be being an act like having activism 100% all the time? I will say no, because you have to be also be careful that you don't burn out. You know, because when it's super amazing when you are in it and you are going at it, but then you get to a point where you are so, it has taken so much of your energy, you're so tired that if you're not careful, you might lose interest in it and you might not want to go back. So it's good that maybe sometimes when you feel like you're getting tired, just take a step back. You know, take a step back, stay home. Don't even maybe look at it. You know, for example, the No Hate Speech movement, when it came into No Hate Speech Network, I'll say since 2000 and the end of 2000 or the beginning of 2019, and or February, March, I have been a bit back now, because from the 2016 till then, I have been in, and now I am back. But when you are back, you need to make sure you take the break, relax, and then also you feel like, okay, I want to go back in, so I'm going back in. So I need to do a bit. It gives you more time to do research, gives you more time to prepare yourself to go in, so that when you go in, you're not like lost, like, okay, where am I? But you're in back in the game again. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And is there, just to follow on that, because for someone like Tola, a young person who's maybe entering into the world of activism, is there a pressure to compare yourself to others? Is that something that's out there, that's where people think they have to be doing it 100% because look at such and such is doing it, and am I not enough?
No. You don't have to feel pressure, you know, because you are doing it. You have to put in your mind that activism, you're not doing it to impress anybody, but you're doing it for you, and you're doing it because it's something that you're passionate about, and it's something that you want to make a change. So you don't need to. You can feel inspired by somebody, but not feel the pressure that I need to be like this person. You know, that is something that you need to really, really have in yourself, because everybody brings a different element or a different sauce to the dish, you know, to the table. So if you put this pressure on you that, oh, this person brought let's say this person brought potato chips, I need to bring another. No. You need to say that I am coming in with my sauce and with my energy, something that makes you stand out, something that makes people know you or hear you, you know. And so it's super important that but you can be inspired. You know, you can be. I was super inspired by a lot of young people. The young people that I saw, even me being part of the No Hate Speech movement got me to know the young voices, you know, and then seeing the young voices, some of the young voices, people, for example, Robert, you know, Robert, and I don't know if you know Robert, but this guy is super intelligent, you know. So when I first met this guy, I was intimidated. I was like, oh my God, I need to know politics straight away. But then I realized that, no, I am not Robert. You know, and Robert too was like, Kelvin, oh my God, I can't do what you do, you know. So I was inspired by his way of tackling issues and his what he's talking about, but I chose my way that I can do it, that people can also see, you know. So this for us.
Like that leads quite like very nicely, doesn't it? It's almost like, because I wanted to ask you about teamwork and about how people in movements, because for me, Dermot was my youth worker, taught me about like the basic skills of activism, and then is like somebody I still go to all the time when something, maybe I need a bit of guiding light on where to go next, because it can be tough, right? Activism, it's not always so I guess I wanted to ask you about that thing of teamwork both amongst your peers, and how do you kind of, and I think you've kind of already hit on it, that it's like you all bring your own sauce to it. You don't have to pretend, and that's how you get this kind of authentic teamwork. But what do you think the role is for that kind of, do you think it's important that younger activists have somebody to go to who maybe is a little bit older? I mean, and that could be in a book, it could be in a podcast, or somebody they know in their youth project. And do you have stories of that to share about, like what impacted you in your development and who you kind of leaned on as you went through your activism? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I would say again, from what you said, teamwork is super important in activism, especially in the hate speech, or the way that the group is going, is super important, because everybody, as I said, everybody brings their own flavor, and it makes the group stronger, because you don't want, one thing that for me I realized in my whole journey that I came is the young people that I met. For example, a friend called Emmanuel, who was also part of, I met Emmanuel. Emmanuel is somebody that is really good at mobilizing, getting people together, especially. So he's very good, and that is his specialty. And we have a girl in the group called Elena, and Elena and Godfrey. They were very good at visuals. So anything to do with film, editing, and all that, they are good at it. And for me, my role was to bring the creative side. I have the group. So what can I do with the group for us to get our message there? So it was a team effort for always to produce, to get something, our message out there. So teamwork is super, super important. For example, Robert was the kind of person that knew a lot of the legislations. And so when we're talking about the government stuff, we know that, okay, let's go to Robert. When you're talking about getting young people, let's go to this. And we're always together. And we also had a backup. We also had a very strong youth workers and mentors behind us that always encourages us. And always when we go and we're like, oh, and we want to do this, what do you think? Do you know what? Do it. They put us in, they encourage us and they empower us in a way that we're like, okay, let's go. We want to do it. Which makes it more fresh and more beautiful, because the most important thing, the first thing when you go into the no hate speech movement, like Ireland being part of the ambassador group, was they tell you that it's for young people and it's driven by young people. So whatever that you want to do in any way, they are just there as guidance and they are there to support. And then, so whatever that you want to do, you go for it. So it gives us, it really created this team for us that we were very passionate and to move forward to it. And to come to the, if you can explain your next question again, because you said something else.
Yeah, so I'm wondering about, and it's kind of separate, but people always have an impact on us, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, even like I've said, seeing you guys and your activism and being kind of a part of it, although at the periphery at some of those events, impacted on me and it taught me something about myself. So I'm wondering, like, and you've named some of them already, the people along the way that impacted on you, and maybe that's activists that you've read about or listened to on podcasts, or maybe it's activists that you've met in real life, but what they taught you, and did it change you kind of as a person and as an activist?
Yes. So basically, there's a lot of young people that I've also met along the way. Like also another young person I was super inspired by is Amina. Amina, Aisha, so many young people that, and even recently another young person that I really had a strong is Keith. He's part of the Young Voices group that is tackling against climate change. And I was with Keith and for 3 days. I was talking to the group and working about spoken word poetry. And I really love listening to him on his goals and what his achievement and what he wants to do. So for young people, I'm always inspired by everybody that I see that wants change. For the youth workers and mentors, and for me, I appreciate them super much, because it's their way of dealing with me, and their patience and their words and their empowerment is what made me become the Kelvin that I am. Because, for example, Dermot is one of them, Amal, Anne, Aista, Jean Marie, and Valerie. There's two Valerie, so both of them. Like the list goes on, and then when you go into the creative side, you have Jenny McDonald, Jenny Webster, Tony Fagan, a lot of people that really can see your potential, and then they really fuel you to a point that for you to actually see it yourself and to tackle. So if you have these people around you, it creates an amazing team. It creates an amazing team. So for me, I always say to young people, and I always say to the people that I work with, that really appreciate the opportunities that the leaders gives you, and really respect and be humble and listen. Because sometimes one way of mentoring is they might tell you something that you might not maybe like, I don't want, I don't want, but they can see your direction. Like I always say this quote, this kind of like a proverb that is in Africa, that they said that as a person, when somebody is doing lawnmower, if you're doing the lawnmower, you cannot see if you're cutting a very straight line behind you, unless there's somebody behind you that can tell you that, oh, it's straight or not straight. So the people that are behind you, you really need to listen to them, because they can see, okay, you're going on the right direction, or no, you are on this way. So yeah, this is where I get all my things from.
Amazing.
I'd like to zoom in on a particular project, Kelvin, and it's something that, again, was very inspirational for us when we were looking at what we wanted to do with Be Well, No Hate. And for us, what's important is we don't need to invent how to do things, because people have done that work. And for me, the Transforming Hate project was other level, and I'd love for you to just share a little bit about what was involved in that project, and even again, I would say the impact of that concept, transforming hate. And what you're doing is you're shining a light on an uncomfortable area, which is those who perpetrate hate, or those who aren't there yet in terms of understanding and might be even passively part of perpetrating hate. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what that project was and how it was for you, and again, the impact on you that this project had.
Okay. This project itself is, for me, I always say that is the moment of when I got the woke moment. I like activism, and I like I was a person, humanitarian, and I love everything, but there was one aspect of me that was always challenging, and that part comes with the word religion. It was that part of me that I was really struggling with, even and I was struggling with it because the Transforming Hate Speech project was in Lebanon. And Lebanon, when I was going, Anne told me, and Anne said, Kelvin, you'll be amazing person to be part of this project. I was super excited, but also nervous, and I had a bit of fear, because when I told my friends, my family, some of the response was like, whoa, you're going to a country where it's beside Syria, Palestine, there's a war area. Also, ISIS is there. Also, you're a Christian. It has a lot of Muslim country area. So for me, it put a lot of fear inside me. And I was also terrified on the fact that I'm like, okay, I had that mindset of, okay, I'm going to an area. I always said that I love everybody, but my religion always says to me that don't be around the people like Christians and Muslims, that whole kind of like concept, the division. it was something that I was really, they said, love everybody, but don't mix yourself, you know. So for me going in there, I had this challenge. But when I went in there, I really transformed. I transformed based on the fact that I really connected with people that so in society, I was supposed to be scared of. And I really shared, we had a lot of similarities and a bond that I never had before. And that the woke moment was when I found love. Like we talk about love, but I really identified the meaning of love. You know, like not like romantical love, but the unconditional love. You know, the love that you love somebody so much that you don't care where they come from, or you love them as a person. And that's what for me, that was my biggest transformation, you know, from that, because it's transforming hate. And in my environment that I was in before I went, it had a bit of prejudice and hate towards the area that I was going. So for me to go there, that was my transformation, biggest transformation. And when I discovered that, it gave me the chance and the opportunity to be able to be free and be able to express myself. And we were also again using art, you know, using stories, like listening to personal stories, and sometimes we're super emotional, to listen to how people are even fleeing from war. You get to put yourself, like, I'm a migrant, and my story on how I got to Europe and Ireland is, you get to see that it's totally different from how other people get in there. And maybe you still sometimes put yourself, wow, okay, maybe I was lucky. And I feel privileged, maybe the way I got mine, because some people are just missing, you know, their way of escaping is by missing a bullet, from, you know, dodging a bullet. And it makes you really, really see how precious life is, and how precious to really help. And another thing that I really found in this project was that everybody that was in there was super positive and really wanting to use to transform hate. Because one of the stories is, sometimes some people, you become so bitter, because it was not just, we were the Irish group, and the group itself was very diverse. We didn't have, it was in Lebanon, but we didn't have, it was only one Lebanese. But in the group that was in Lebanon had Palestinians, had Syrians, you know. And then for Irish group, we had Africans, we have Irish, you know, it was all mixed. And to some of the stories that came up with, especially the ones coming from wars, say that some young people have this bitterness in them, that they want to, you know, in a way could retaliate as a revenge, that, oh, I want to do the same thing. But every young person there's mind was like using the arts to show a different way of action and tackling an issue. And one of the things we ended up doing was creating an amazing documentary that is in the National Youth Council Violence page, and you can on YouTube, and you can watch that documentary. You can hear every young person that was in there, their story, and creating a song together. We created a song together, and it was super. Those that was dancing, those that was playing the drums, I was saying spoken word always. Nengi, I don't know if you all know Nengi. Nengi was singing. It was incredible, and we have people that only focus on photography. I met that was why the first time I met Megan, and I really love this girl. Oh my God, her passion for change, her passion to like, in the beginning, Megan was very quiet, you know, because the culture shock. But then 2-3 days, Megan, I said, you could be a politician. You when you become the next T-Shock, I want to be beside you, you know. So every young person that was there was super transformed. And again, for me, it has stayed with me since then, because I wrote a spoken word piece. Because when I went, That's where I met my ex, and then I went back again. They gave me the call to go back again to Lebanon, and I was there for three weeks. And that was when my mission was to go into the camps, the to work with young people. So I was working 1 week, but in 2 different camps. No, 2 weeks actually in 2 different camps. One for football, one for teaching young people dance. Because a place where I feared became a place where now I love and I want to go. And it made me write a spoken word piece called Shetila Camp. That was the camp that I went there to teach some of the dance group of the refugee young people, and it's on YouTube. That one is really talking about the impact they had on me personally. So this is the kind of like the project is so special for me in my heart, and as I said, it now transformed me into a way that I see religion not the way that I see it before. I don't let religion push me anymore down. So this is what I would say about that project. I can talk about it for ages, right?
I can imagine. And what I would say as well is that the project not only produced change within the participants, it produced books, it produced resources for other youth workers or other people in the field to work off. And it's something that strikes me as well, Kelvin, how important it is. Everyone's not the same. So you can be in a group together working on something that you have a collective interest in or passion about, but you don't have to be all the same.
Yeah.
That's your experience for.
Yes. Because in the not all, if all of us were the same, we won't be able to get the same. We wouldn't have reached or had the impact or the energy or the connection that we had in that project. I think when we were filling the forms, one of the things that they said was, would you, if you're to do this project, what would you do differently? And for me, I said, and because of this project, I always say I won't change nothing. I won't do nothing differently, because if I change, me not changing nothing, because if I change something, I won't have the impact or the way that I got. So it's because everybody was different. Everybody had the different stories. Everybody had the different creative ways, method that to bring to the project. And again, as I said, you bringing your own sauce to the dish makes the dish more tastier. But if it's the same, it's not going to be tasty the way that you want to have.
Cool.
And, can I ask one just a quick off-script question? What I hear from that as well is that I think it's so powerful that you shared your own fears about where you were going, and not hate, but maybe a preconceived idea about something that ended up completely changing. And I think that's so important, because if we're going to do an anti-hate movement, it doesn't mean that we're all perfectly loving, 100% compassionate, transcend all anger and bias. It means that the work is within us to transform our own, but also to have hope that we can transform it in others. And so people aren't goners if they have maybe a prejudice or they have hate, even that there's something in there that we can reach into and transform. Does that ring true for you?
Yes. It is basically, the thing is, when you are part of an activist, or as I said, you don't put it in your mind. You put it in your mind that you want to make a change, but don't. For me, I always say, I don't go in saying that I want to change, train people or tell you this is the right way. You go in and say, this is the change that I want to make. And because of the energy you're giving and the way you're going, people will automatically it's like a magnet. They will attract to you, so that is where the change happens. But if you go in and say, oh, I want to show you that this is the way that you should go, this is the right way, this is the date, you're not transforming yourself, but you are just becoming like, okay, I am the leader, listen to me, or boss. But you actually going to say, I want to have an experience with this direction I want to go. It's very challenging to be an activist, because you also have your own cultural or your own cultural kind of like backgrounds, that maybe you might get to a point where it will clash with what you're going for, you know, and you don't know, oh my God, how to deal with it, how to do this, how to do this. One of the most difficult one, and for me, I don't know, I still think of it, I don't know if I did the right way or I chose the right way, was when Ireland was when the referendum for same-sex marriage. You know, I am a Sunday school teacher, and my religion tells me totally different. And I'm also an activist. And my activism is I accept everybody for who they are. So it clashed. And that moment, I was so terrified, and I was like, okay, what should I? Okay, the best thing I'm going to do is don't say nothing, because I didn't want my church, because as a Sunday school teacher, I go there to the church every Sunday talking about God, and the kids know the Bible. The kids talk to their parents, you know. And my activism, I'm always like, come on, let's include everybody, inclusion, you know. And so that moment, it really clashed, and I decided. I remember a friend asked me, and I said that I'm not going to vote. And the person said, "You're a hypocrite. You are this, you that, you that." I got this hate online towards me because I said I didn't know where to go. You know, so being an activist, there are some moments where you will have these clash, and it's also that moment you have to put in yourself, okay, now I am in a learning process now. You know, I am in the learning process. First of all, how am I going to deal with this? Who should I talk to? How should I do this? So you need to then put it on the table and say, I am no more, on that very short period, you're no more an activist anymore. You are like the people that you want to learn. You know, so it is as I said, everybody you have your culture and you have that. And sometimes it's challenging, and sometimes it's so. I hope I answered your question.
You did. And you threw the gauntlet as well. I think for us to, as the team that we talked about earlier, to hold space for one another, to have those tussles as well, because that's what makes us human, right?
Yes. You know,
and there's something
we're not perfect. You know, we are all learning too. So.
And it's like if you have. I mean, we talk about the beginner's mind. I certainly appreciate that as a concept, because it reminds me that there are times when I am a beginner, and that there should always be times when I'm a beginner. And if I'm open to learning, then I will learn. If I think I don't need to learn anymore because I can look at my credentials and my achievements and think, no, I am a sage. I have all the wisdom. Then I need to quit. You know.
Yeah.
There's something else I was going to ask Kelvin about, you know, the whole world of emotions. Took us 50 minutes to get here. But, you know, like there's like, again, I don't want to put like Tola on the spot, but for young people, because, well, she's young, we're not. Like, you're youngish, Kelvin. Grace,
European Union, we're still young.
Yeah. Not great.
Yeah.
Are you under 30?
Yeah, 30. I've been a whole year left.
Yeah.
Okay, youngsters. But, you know, I think it's fair to say, like, so I would say, Kelvin, and even speaking to like you guys as young people, you have to imagine the world as you want it to be, and you have to find, you know, make decisions about how can you contribute to how the world should be, and yet you also see what's harming the world at the moment. And is it like, how do you then manage sometimes I wonder, are activists allowed to be happy? You know, do you have to be gloomy all the time? Do you have to be angry all the time? Do you have to, you know, like, can you go out and have drinks and have crack and not be, and at the same time, you must manage the tough times. And you know, some people experience those tough times more acutely than others do. And especially, you know, for myself and Grace, we are white Irish, so we don't have to experience the international pain of what might happen in any country where there are people of color. You share all that pain yourselves in one way or another, to a high degree or a low degree, but you relate to it. So how like do you have to be? Is it a roller coaster? But how important is it to be able to give yourself permission to feel all the feels and to include the positive stuff in there?
Oh, it's a nice question. For me, I count myself as I always want to be positive, because it's difficult, especially when it comes to people of color, in most topics, and in being an activist towards certain things. For example, when you're talking about migration, you fit in there. When you're talking about racism, you fit in there. There's a lot of issues that are in the world that you fit in, and you are a victim of. So sometimes it's really difficult to fight for something or to talk about something all the time that you feel like nobody's listening. And in that sense, sometimes you could easily fall into the trap of like, okay, I give up. I don't want to do this anymore because my words are not going nowhere, and it's always the same. But why I try to be positive, and I always want to be positive, is that the moment that, for me, I feel like the moment you say, oh my God, you start thinking a little bit of negativity, you are trapping yourself from the change that you want to make. So it's good that's why I said in the beginning, it's good to take a time off and really process yourself and think about yourself and find different, and say, okay, this is how I was doing it before, and people were not listening. I still want the change, and I still believe that the change, I could do it. So let me find a different angle, in a different way. Where are the loopholes? Who did I connect to the first time that maybe I did not get? I was not able. It got me here, but I did not get to where I want. And who are the next people I need to now target, or which way should I present myself? You know, that moment is really, really important, because you get the time to really think and evaluate yourself and refresh yourself. And then when you are coming out, you come out with positivity. Because I believe that every leader and every young person that wants change always think positive, no matter what. For me, the people that I inspired to always think positive, had a positive hope in for example, Nelson Mandela had a positive aspect on the apartheid. Even though he went to the prison, he came back knowing that he could make a positive change. Same with Martin Luther King. He did exactly the same thing, even though they went through a difficult time. So you always have put in yourself that the people that I'm inspired to, they were able to reach or make a change, but they also went through a difficult. So you always going into being an activist and being always have that in your mind that I am going to face difficulties, and I am going to have a moment of where I feel like I'm in a room full of walls and it's not breaking. But you always put in your mind that even though I might not, the walls are hard to break, I will find maybe a shovel that I can use it to break through. Always have that kind of like in mind, because the people that are with you, are the ones, the people that are connecting with you, they are expecting your positivity. So when they see you as a leader and they see you low energy and you negative, it's gonna be a ripple effect. It's gonna go out with you, and it's gonna affect all of them too. And the hard work that maybe you did go down. A big example I would say about my life and personally was in 2018, 2018 February 2018. I had a very difficult moment in my life where my second mother passed away, the one that took care of me when I was in Africa and when my parents were here. And also I had like my ex. I had a breakup with my ex, unexpectedly also, and it was something. And then also around that same time, which I was coming from, when I said I was in November 2017, the youth summit. After the youth summit, I had a flight. I was going on a youth exchange in Georgia, and we had to stop in Germany. And in Germany, they suspected me as a terrorist, you know. So because of Lebanon that I went, so all of these events all came together, boom, in February on me. And I felt like, why? One, I was like, God, why is it everything that I love, like for example, activism, is being taken? It's like it's being taken. People are seeing me as this. The people that I love, everything was like down. And that moment, I was in the moment of giving up. But then I had a friend, one of the friends in the Lebanon project, and one of the friends in Elena, who's also part of the hate speech, were the people that really had a strong impact in me. For example, the one in Lebanon said to me, Kelvin, if you are low like this, we need you, the world needs you, and there are people waiting for you to hear you. So if you are in this element, because there's a whole lot of my mental health was crazy. So the negativity things that you were thinking, if you focus on that, the people that are waiting for you are not going to hear you. And their words, and because of projects that I've been in and their connection, and the two of them really empowered me. And then I got through that. I went there to come out of that. The next project that I went to was in Italy. It was about a training course about hate speech. And that really empowered me again. And I was able to find my positivity again, because at that very moment it was super difficult. But they reminded me on what I want to achieve. And that is what you should always also put in as a young person coming into this journey. Know that there are moments where you're going to have your difficult moment, and you might feel everything is caved in on you, and you want to give up, and you're not making an impact. But always remember that this is just the storm, and after every storm there is always a rainbow, and you are going to make it. And once you see that light, is the most amazing thing that is going to happen. Because for me, if I gave up back in 2018, I won't be, and I still say it now, I won't be say that, be a youth delegate for Ireland, represent Ireland as a youth delegate in the European Youth Conference. It's one of the most highlight of my life, and it's still it's something I talk about it all the time. So always remember that once I was able to go over that storm, the next journeys that came up was just a lift. So.
And for, like, in my view, it would have been understandable if you came out of that experience in Germany where you were racially profiled and accused of being involved in terrorism. You could have come out of that angry, and you could have allowed hate into your heart.
Yeah.
And for you to move beyond that and still believe and commit to the positive work of your activism and to share that story when it was right for you to do so with young people, you are so important to us, I think, in that regard. And I don't know, like, for to try the how do you, like, Tola, as someone who's new now in the world, like, and of activism, and it's sometimes for young people, I think it can be hard for them to find where's the invitation, and what's it like for you, Tola, putting you on the spot now?
I think what Kelvin said about the being positive thing, that's the main thing. Because I always think, like, if I was like when all the Black Lives Matter thing was going on, when I was talking to my friends, like, there was other people talking about it as well, but some people who spoke negatively about it were like not really listened to. But when I was speaking, trying to be as positive as I can about it, I knew people were listening to me, because then they'd be asking me more questions. So I think with all this, it's the main thing is, like what Kelvin said, just like, for me, trying to be positive, just going with the flow of it, basically, trying not to, say something that I'm not really too sure about, but just, if someone asks, being as honest as I can, like we were talking about earlier, and then just trying to be as positive about it, even though, like you were saying earlier, it is really emotional to talk about, but it's so important to still try and be positive. Like, even though it's sad and, it can get you down, and when you think about things that could be happening and everything, it's still just so important that when you're talking to other people about it, if you're positive about it, then people can look at you being like, wow, like, you know, you can be so positive when something so crazy is happening in the world, you know, so that makes people look at you different then. So yeah, I think for me, it's just with all the starting the activism and everything, it's just being positive, going with the flow of what's going on, and yeah.
And I think it's like I think some people would probably find that a kind of a it's a good reminder that change comes from positivity. It doesn't come from hate, and if it does, it just makes things harder and it increases the struggle. So you know, there isn't a greater example than Nelson Mandela, who had the greatest reason of all to walk out of prison with hate in his heart, but he chose not to, and he cultivated the positivity over time while he was suffering, so that he could come out and be the leader that people needed him to be. And even though there's pressure with that, I think it's huge for people to say, if I want to be an activist and I want to lead, then I've got to commit to finding positive examples or pursuing positive change rather than punishing. And I think, again, for us to think about transforming hate is to not just punish and exclude and try and harm those who hate, but to try and transform them. And unless Grace has any another question, or Tola, I'm going to give the last word to you, Kelvin. No, last word to you, Kelvin. And you know, for us, again, just our gratitude is very, very deep for giving us your time today. And there's so much to take from it, and so much learning again for us, and reminders, and I certainly appreciate the connection that I've had with you over time and will have going forward. So thanks for your time, and we'll give you the last word, message.
Thank you so much again for having me and to have this conversation. It's not an interview, it was a conversation, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it really, really much. I just want to say that as the work that you're doing, like Dermot, I've worked with you for a lot of times, and I am always inspired by you, your work as a youth worker, and one of the things I always say to people about how I want to be a youth worker was your journey, how you became a youth worker. Is how I wanted to follow, and for me, I think that the energy you give to young people is something that it fuels them, it fuels us, it drives us to keep going. For us to have people like you and the people in the National Youth Council of Ireland, and also Grace, I've seen you being part of the Youth Summit, and the work that you guys do is what gives us the courage to keep on going, and the empowerment. So I'm very, very happy. I'm very happy that you do know his speech in Bray. I am here whenever you need me. I think you have Tola. I think you will be an amazing youth leader. You told me the journey that you want to go based on your positivity from what you're talking about and the questions that you're asking, and even being in the presence for us to have these discussions shows that is something that is driving you and you want a positive change. Is for me, I never allowed my ethnicity or my race or where I come from to hinder me, and which sometimes it could be difficult in from the words that you hear from people. But for you being here and being whatever everywhere you represent, don't make it hinder you. Keep on going, and always focus on the positive light. Thank you so much, and I'm here again whenever you need me, to give an input, or to dance, or to teach, or spoken word, or whatever. Let me know, and I will be gladly to be part and help in this process. Thank you so much once again.